All right, trying to be excited, but today is, God, I hope one of the last things to deal with this truck. This is my 2002 Ford Ranger 3-liter. This car originally was bought, as you see in a lot of my other videos, for my daughters to drive. They was driven for quite a few years, not really any problems, and out of nowhere it's been giving me problem after problem. So when I gave my daughter my 2008 Mustang, I went out and bought myself a 2019 Mustang. So I started driving this truck a lot, just not to put the miles on my new car. Because it's got this Duracoating and it's a zombie truck or whatever, it's great to park at airports. I'm not worried about anybody damaging it. The problem is putting all these miles on it just is exasperating other problems. It just made things worse. The head gaskets went. At least they're not leaking anymore. The throttle started idling weird. Had to get a new auto throttle. I think it's called the idle throttle sensor or something. Had to get one of those. And then, then had problems with some vacuum hoses and some other stuff. Now the oil pressure is extremely low. So one of my other videos I showed you, I actually took out the switch type sensor, oil sensor. I put a true sensor on it and looked at it, and the oil, once the car warms up, is running dangerously low. I upped the RPMs to get by the problem and kept driving it. And now, even with the higher RPMs, the car's oil pressure is still too low. So I got to deal with it. So I'm going to put a new oil pump on it. Oil pumps on these cars are a pain in the ass. I could yank the engine, or I can yank the transmission. I'm choosing to yank the transmission because I really don't have the clearance and the ability in my garage to yank an engine out. I could rent a shop to do it, but I'm going to try the transmission route. You have to pretty much do this on a lot of cars in this time period on the Ford line, so it's nothing that I'm not familiar with, that I don't feel I can't do. But at this point, I'll film it as I go and hope that that's it. Really, the car isn't running fine, not really giving me many problems anymore. Everything started working, but oil pressure, obviously, with an engine is a big concern, and I don't want to press my luck anymore. And I try to get some better lighting. A lot of people complain about the lighting in my videos, so I'll do my best. And hopefully this is the last time in a while I work on this truck. So I ended up having some problems right from the start. So the engine mounts were literally rusted to the bolts. Something that should have been 20 minutes max ended up taking 3 hours. I ended up having to heat it up. I ended up having to use a ton of PB Blaster. Ended up taking out the wheel well to get better leverage So I took out the wheel well on the driver's side. Finally was able to get enough leverage in there. Ended up using a different set of, ended up going out and buying a couple different sets of wrenches and some other stuff to finally get the leverage I needed in there. Took me forever, but I finally got it out. And I have them soaking right now in anti-rust. They were literally rusted through. So I have an anti-rust formula that well, I'll just tell you what it is. It's the rust resolver from Rust-Oleum. I threw it on those to get the rust out, so when I put them back, they won't be as much of a trouble. So I'm already behind, about ready to raise the engine, but the mounts are out and the pre-step's done, so I can put the engine back when I remove the transmission. So again, things that should have been simple, now I'm way behind schedule. But at this point, I'll keep moving forward. All right, so the transmission's out. I'm going to go ahead and yank the flex plate off and the flex plate cover. Go ahead and do the rear main seals, and then I'm going to go after the oil pan. This is worse than I could have ever imagined. Getting the transmission out was a pain in the ass, and everything in this thing has just been more difficult than I care to admit. So this is a big project. I'm probably already like, 12 hours to it. There's a reason they want $2,100 probably to do everything that I'm doing here at the shop with the rear main seals and all the gaskets I'm doing at the same time. But yeah, it's been fun. Now I can actually get to the oil pan. All this pre-work just to get to where I'm at now. If you look here, the instructions will tell you to get a hoist, and it's a cross member hoist, or I don't know what they call it, but you put it against your on your side of your where the wheel wells are, and you can hoist your engine up. If you look at old instructions for these cars, they just tell you to wedge a 1.5 inch wood. This one slid a little bit, but to get the engine up high enough to drop the oil pan. What I did was just use the wood, but I think the modern instructions, because liability, they don't tell you, but if you get an old manual from Ranger, this is how they tell you to lift the engine up. Alright, so it's another day. I'm on day 3 on this truck. I haven't been able to, because of all these events going on, to stay focused on working on the truck. It's really starting to get on my nerves. So, it's a big project to do this. And also in the middle of all this, I've had to, go around, find parts and other things, which is slowing everything down. The biggest thing that concerns me is this oil pump didn't look bad. There was no blockage in it. For what I could tell, there's no problems. Gears looked good. So I don't believe that I'm going to solve my oil pressure problem with the pump. I mean, there's no blockage in this whatsoever, and there's nothing in there. There's nothing, at all remotely that I would be concerned about. So I am not sure what to do here now. I'm just hoping that whatever it is, that maybe it is the pump. I don't know. But my concern is there's so much rust underneath the engine that the engine sat for a long time. And if I had a shop, I would have stopped, put the car off the side, and probably either sent the engine out to have it cleaned, or got a new short block. At this point, I'm going to reassemble it. Maybe I'll get lucky and it'll work. I'm trying to stay optimistic, but I'm not convinced that this is going to solve the problem in the long run.